So earlier on in the week, Sakurai managed to shake up everything with a Lucina Robin reveal. This was pretty cool. Fire Emblem now has 4 reps. That's surprising. I didn't think Fire Emblem would get that many reps, though it definitely deserves it. It's a pretty cool series with a good 13, 14 games. Though a lot of other series deserve to have a lot more reps, but I'm not going to complain. Fire Emblem is one of my favourite series in Smash. Anyway, now that we got a super Fire Emblem trailer at the very start of the week, I'm going to declare this week Fire Emblem Week. And to celebrate Fire Emblem Week, I'm going to bring you a moveset from your favourite Fire Emblem Lord, Leif. You know Leif, right? The only other protagonist apart from Mart and Ike to appear in 2 games. Yeah, excluding Trial Map and DLC. You don't know Leif? You should know Leif, because his games are some of the most horrible and beautiful things Nintendo has ever made. Anyway, let's get started with his moveset. Leif's signature weapon is probably the Light Brand sword. It's the sword he will most likely inherit from his mother in Fire Emblem Genealogy of Holy War, and in Fire Emblem Tracia 776 it's the weapon he comes with by default, and it's his personal weapon no one else can use. So he would actually be very similar to Roy, except instead of fire he'd use light based magic. But he had some of the kind of twirls and stuff that Mart would have, but not being identical to Mart. He wouldn't have another Lucina on her hands. He would have completely unique animations, just quite a bit of twirling and a lot of light magic based around it. Sparkly white magic, but also triangle based, because for some reason triangles equal magic in SNES Fire Emblem. I don't know why. But anyway, as you can see on screen, he has quite a few animations to take from. Some other things that should be noted about him right off the bat is that in Tracia 776 you can randomly get a second turn to move, based on his value that characters have. Leif has a moderate amount of value of it. So to represent that, a little whistle will come up beside Leif sometimes, and he would just gain a very temporary speed boost randomly. Like every frame there'd be like a 1 in a million chance, but since frames happen so frequently, that'll actually happen quite often. Another thing to note in Tracia is that you can capture enemies, kind of hold them hostage and steal from them and take all the weapons. And this affects certain things in the game and who can recruit and stuff. And to translate that into Smash, when Leif grabs an opponent and after holding them he releases them without throwing them, if they are holding an item at the time, then Leif will now have the item. But if he throws them, then he won't get the item. This kind of encourages to actually use pummeling, because I find in Smash Bros. Pummeling never gets used because you don't have enough time to pummel and throw at the same time usually. And throwing just tends to be superior. So he'd be quite an interesting character with some pretty unique kind of additions to his moveset than other characters don't. In terms of size and speed, he'd be pretty fast for a character, about as fast as Mart, except smaller than Mart, to make him better than Mart in that area. He wouldn't have as much range as Mart, since he's a bit shorter himself, his arms aren't as long and his sword isn't as long. But the extra lightning effect does give him extra hitboxes, and some of his attacks do have disjointed hitboxes going outwards. His jumping ability would also be pretty good. He does a couple of jumps in his animations in Tracia and Holy War. So overall he'd be a pretty good character. His main lacking is in overall kill power. That's the main downside. And also his weight. He is not that heavy since he's kind of short and strong and really good. I think his side smash could be based on his critical hit animation. He would be a very far weaker side smash that moves him forward quite a bit, but not quite as powerful as side smashes tend to be. As for his up smash, I don't really have much in mind for that, but for his down smash, something interesting. In later Fire Emblem games, you could put items down the map to create a hazard, so to speak. There's 2 types of hazards you can make. You can make light runes, which are stayed parts of the map where an enemy or a character can't transverse over. You can put down mines, which stay hidden and then damage an enemy when they step on them. I combine these two to a down smash, so he basically steals Snake's old down smash, except it's a light-based mine explosion that when enemies step on, causes them to take damage. And unlike Snake's, it's completely invisible. So I think that would be a pretty unique down smash and just add overall to his uniqueness. His neutral B will be Light Brand, using the signature Light Sword to attack from afar, which is a property he has in Fire Emblem. Though it appears in his own game as his signature weapon, I would actually use the animations from the later games, because I just like the animations in the Game Boy Advance games for this particular weapon. It would be a combination between the Light Brand in those games and the Rune Sword as well. Even though the Rune Sword now related, I just like the design. How it works in Smash is when you hold B, Leif will take a stance with the sword held up in the air, and a reticle will appear on him, like a light rune, and you can move that anywhere you want pretty quickly within a certain sphere of Leif. not too far away from it. And when you release B, wherever the light rune is, it'll damage the any opponent standing there. It's not too powerful an attack, but it is. You get a lot of control with it, and you can hold it indefinitely until you get an opponent right in the area you want it to be. And it can do quite a bit of damage at 5%. It's a pretty useful attack, but not altogether the best attack in terms of the game. I think there should be more Thunder used in Smash Bros. Leif comes with 11 sword in his Awakening DLC, and Lightning is a recurring spell in the series that is light based and not electric based. So anyway, given all that, I would make an electric attack, maybe Lightning or maybe 11 sword being the side B. The way this will be cover an area just in front of him. It wouldn't really be a projectile. It would be a bit like Pikachu's Thunder, except more wide and not as high, and not quite as powerful, more than light damage. Leif is a lot more based on getting attacks out there and dealing damage and racking up percent rather than being a killer like Ike. It's more like Martin in that regard actually, except he likes to play a bit safer. So B is simply called Return. In Genealogy of Holy War, you have a home castle, and if you have the return ring or someone you have the return staff on you, you can warp back to the home castle. Staves are also pretty damn important in Tracy 776, the warping and rewarping of them and rescuing. They're all ways to warp around the map, so it's pretty important, and I like to represent that some way, so that's why this is recovery. How it works is when you first press the up B, a little glyph will appear on the ground where Leif is standing. That will stay there for a good long while, a couple of minutes before disappearing. When you're over the edge, or just when you want to disappear somewhere else, you press up B again, Leif will hold his ring up in the air, and after a short delay, he'll disappear and appear where the glyph is, no matter where he is on the stage. There's some advantages and disadvantages to this. An advantage is it's an infinite recovery. If he has time to use the move, he can recover from any death situation, no matter where he is on the stage, how close he is. Downside of it is the fact that enemies can see the glyph on the stage if they're looking around, and that means they know exactly where you're going to reappear, so they'll be back on your tail pretty quickly unless you strategically place Leif in the middle of the stage or on the opposite side of the stage. So there's quite a lot of strategy involved in this attack. But it can be very useful outside of recovery as well if you just want to get out of an enemy's range or just want to dart around the stage disappearing. So it's pretty good, but once you use it once, you're going to have to gain some distance from the glyph to actually use it the second time to make use of the recovery. And like every other character we've seen in Smash so far, maybe Robin will be different, his down B will be counter. In terms of frames of vulnerability, it'll have equal frames of vulnerability before and after his attack, but the vulnerability frames will be less than Martin Knight respectively. Another additional thing about it is that it'll attack with light magic back at the opponent, which means it has the unique property of if you use it to counter projectiles, you can still hit the opponent no matter where you are. The light attacks right inside the opponent, so it's a pretty good counter from that point, but it's not as strong as Martin or Ike's would tend to be. His final smash is Master Knight. In Genealogy of Holy War, Leif can promote to the Master Knight class, which gets a horse and gets to use every weapon type except dark magic. To represent this in Smash, which wouldn't really be easily as a transformation thing, I do it so it's an attack like Ike's, where he attacks from front of him except using light magic, not using sword. And then it brings them to an area like Captain Falcon's, where Leif proceeds to attack them with every weapon he has: a spear, an axe, a bow, fire magic, thunder magic, wind magic, and then finishes off using the Blaggy sword from Tracia while being on horseback and slamming to the opponent like Captain Falcon's. So he's going to show off quite a bit using this attack, but he has right reason to be, because the Master Knight class is pretty awesome. Anyway, that's it for my Leif moveset. Comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe and celebrate Fire Emblem and celebrate Smash. It's a great time to be a fan of both series.